Okay, here we go. Happy Monday. Good morning. It's the Travis Neville podcast. Um, I'm Travis Neville. I wrote this book that you see behind me, The Jossman Method. I have this podcast to support the book and to expand further on the ideas that are the basis of it, as well as the supporting elements. That's what it is. So, to that end, today I want to tell you about Brotherhood. About really, it's chapter 9. I talk about volunteering, and in that chapter, I specifically talk about coaching football, which is what I do to volunteer. And the idea behind that, why make a chapter about volunteering when you're talking about getting through difficult things? Because it's a way to get outside of yourself. Generally, if you're going to volunteer to do something, it's going to be around other people. When I think volunteer, I think, food bank or, shoveling driveways or, volunteering. You're generally giving to others. And that, what it does is it's going to create, again, getting you through a difficult thing, it's going to create perspective. And perspective is huge. I mean, this is true. This is a Joe Rogan concept. He said, the most difficult thing that a person's ever been through is the most difficult thing they've ever been through. Now, their most difficult thing might be here, and yours might be here, or way up here. Like, you haven't been in actual military battle, or maybe you have. And if you have, thank you. Thank you for doing what you did for us. Even though there's a lot of turmoil here, I love this country, I do, and I'm glad to be able to live in it. That's true. But again, the hardest thing you've been through is the hardest thing you've been through. And so those conflicts, if you can go get some perspective on it. All right, I'm going through divorce. I'm not, but say you are. And you end up volunteering at a soup kitchen. You're going to see a bunch of people who, maybe they got divorced too. Maybe they lost their jobs. Maybe they're homeless. Obviously, they're homeless. I mean, or close to it if they're in a soup kitchen getting food, needing having to count on the kindness of strangers, of others. It makes you realize, hey, man, my shit cup ain't that full. All right. A lot of people have it way worse than I do. And that can help you feel better. So that's the most basic reason behind why I made a whole chapter on volunteering. Now that's why it's going to make sense to most of you. But what I delved into there is masculinity in football. And I'm going to assume that most of the people that are going to listen to this shit, they're guys. All right, I'm a guy. I'm going to talk about guy stuff. I'm not married. I think that when you are, and no offense to anyone, why do I say that? I know I'm going to offend motherfuckers, and I kind of don't care. I feel like my married friends, they're just a little softer. I mean, you live with a woman. You're going to have to. There's give and take there. You've got to make a life together. So she probably maybe became a little harder, maybe more understanding of manly things. That's what it is to be married, okay? You combine. You absorb some things from each other. You have to give up a few things, and you find your compromises. And I was married for a while. I get it. I still really do have a very positive association with marriage. I do. The connotation of it to me is very positive. I believe that there can be great relationships out there, and it's still a thing I strive for. I'm really not putting any effort into it right now, but anyway, I'm not that. So I don't have any softening done anymore. I mean, I'm really the definition of, left to his own, devices, right? Anyway, we were talking about conflict, volunteering, and this football thing. That's what it's become to me. Football to me, and I talk a lot about this in the book. For me, it's an opportunity to teach boys how to become better men. They come into our football program, they're 13, 14, snot-nosed. A lot of them are little kids still, in a lot of ways. They leave us, they're 18. They're voting. They're maybe going to war. I mean, you're legally an adult at that point. You're a man. And it's our job as coaches to get you there, to give you these pieces that are going to make you more successful at that and make you happier, not only just through the process, but when you get to the end result of adulthood, which it's a fucking hell of an end result, right? There is no end result. It's a constant changing and moving and reinventing and adjusting and adapting, and that's just what it is. And that's a difficult thing to get out to these kids. But anyway, that's why I coach. Passionate about that, strong about that. Those ideas to me are ones that I hold dear. And last night we had an all coaches meeting. Actually, I take it back. It was last Wednesday night, and every coach was there. And I coach in a school district it's big, and there are 30 plus coaches in the high school programs. Yeah, that's 30 fucking high school football coaches. It's huge. There are 7 at the JV level, 7 at the freshman level, and like 15 at varsity. And then we've got strength coach and team chaplain and administrators and, all these other individuals who are pretty much just football, but big program. So there were a lot of people in this meeting. And one of the coaches went up there in front of everybody. And, the purpose I should say of the meeting was this: to air your grievances. If you've got a bitch about some other coach or about the head coach or about how we're doing things, here's your time. Say it in front of everybody. It's like a social media killer, right? We don't want you saying this dumb shit on social media. That is outside of us. And I'm already kind of talking right into it. The main goal about this podcast, this session, is the brotherhood piece. Okay? We insist on that with the kids. We developed this idea that you guys, I know, have probably all, this is me talking to the kids, you guys I know grew up together. A lot of you did. Maybe some of you came from different schools, but whatever. We're together now. We've got a singular job, and that's to win this football game. Whichever one is in front of us, that's the one that we're trying to win. And it's going to take us all. We all have to do it correctly. And I know you could just throw out the term teamwork, but there's just a lot more to it than that. In order to really be a team, we as a program have moved into this philosophy of tribe. All right? Because, teams, they end. People get cut. People go home. People get hurt. People grow up and graduate, and they're not on the team anymore. But if you're in a tribe, you're there forever. So we take that a step further with the kids, and we talk about tribe a lot, and what does that mean, and why are you here? And, it's crazy. The kids will tell you that they're all there. Hey, I'm here because my friends are here. That's basically the underlying thing for most of them. Occasionally you'll get a kid who's just like the one guy in the Seven Samurai, or who just is there to improve his craft. He's like, I'm a fucking kicker. I've always kicked. I'm going to kick like a motherfucker, and that's what I do. I kick. But most of the time they're there because they're with their friends and they're hanging out, and shit, it's fun. It's fun to win. These are the kind of things that they talk about. And I'm really beating around the bush here. I really want to get right at this main idea, the brotherhood piece, like I said. We as coaches, as much as we teach it, I think we're behind the kids with regard to role modeling it. You know what I mean? And what, actually, maybe you don't know what I mean. When I say the kids have to have this singular goal, and they're a tribe, and they have to work together, and we're gonna accomplish this one goal, we as coaches have to do that same thing. What we have to realize is, and I talk about this in the book a lot, you do what you see. Okay, now you watch your parents and how they live their lives and what they do, or the role models around you, and you'll end up doing the things that they do. Okay, maybe not, lots of times you won't do what they tell you to do, but you'll do what you see them do. I talked about, my dad was an athlete into his 40s, and he never said, this is what a man should do, son. But fuck, I do it. I just got done working out. And we as coaches need to take that responsibility of not just saying the shit, but doing the shit. Now, I know I can't expect, the 50-year-old the 60-year-old coach to be up there banging weights with the kids. Now, we do have a guy who's 50 plus on our staff who's probably the strongest motherfucker we have. And he can still do it. Good for him. It's because he never quit. I still go. Like, we do a difficult workout every year called Earn Your Stripe, and I still do it with the kids. I'm 44. I don't have any intention of stopping anytime soon. Most of the guys can't do that. But what we can do is have that bond together. And we do some things. We'll get together and drink some beers and shoot the shit and bitch and all that. But, man, everybody still, it's crazy. On a staff that big, you still have little, I don't want to disparage anybody, but there are groups that have, there are guys who don't get along, and there are groups that don't like this guy. And there is still some of that. And I think while a lot of that's natural, we've got to work to get past these petty things as a staff. We have to role model that brotherhood that we're insisting on from the kids. We do. One of the coaches, a close friend of mine, went up, and when it was his turn to talk, said, I'm looking around this room and I'm realizing that some of my best friends are sitting in here. And, you know, it's right now is COVID, right? Which is a fucking bunch of bullshit. I could do 6 fucking podcasts on that. But some things are limited. You can't go in Michigan. Our governor sucks. You can't go to restaurants. You can't go to bars. There's a bunch, family gatherings are limited. I myself, I didn't have any kind of holidays. My family's all scared to death of it. So we didn't have Christmas. We didn't have Thanksgiving. There was nothing. We did some Zoom calls, and that's bullshit. Anyway, I could go on and on about that, but his point was this, and he kind of glossed over it when he talked up there. He said, I've got great friends from high school. I've got friends from college. I have people that I work with, people that I've known far longer than I know about you guys. But I'm realizing that some of my best friends are sitting right in front of me right now. And I'm gonna put words in his mouth, because I texted him after. I'm like, man, that really that really impacted me when you said that, because I'm looking around thinking the same thing. Holy shit. I have a group text with my best friends, the guys that I went to high school with. We take trips to my cabin up north together all the time, and I know everything about every one of these guys. We've been together for so long. We counsel each other when we're down. We spend positive time together. We get drunk and we're stupid together. When somebody needs help, we help them out. I know what all of their wives and kids' names are. I know what they do for work. I know what they used to do for work. I know where they went to college. I know what their hobbies are right now. I mean, I fucking know everything, because our lives are that intertwined. But none of us I've never been to battle with these guys, and that's a different thing. Now, I know I'm using that battle term and I'm spreading that brush around a little bit wide, but as I mentioned about real war earlier, we live in a pretty civilized society, and it's thanks to the people who actually do go to war, people who are in the military. And again, thanks to that, we are in this situation where we as men kind of have to concoct a little bit of conflict in order to get what I think is incredibly necessary. Maybe for most people, but certainly for men, you have got to have some kind of difficulty. You've got to have adversity to I guess, feel good about yourself. I mean, we're in this world where you could easily just become this soft, fat, sedentary, addicted to your phone robot that I guess big tech and big pharma would like you to be, taking your antidepressants and shopping on Amazon and consuming and making all these big companies all this money, really like cattle. I think that's what they'd like us to be. But if you really want to, I believe, fulfill who you truly are and find who you really can be and find some of your ceilings and peaks, you got to set some goals for yourself, and they've got to include some fucking difficulty. You know what I mean? Like, I talk about working out a lot, and that every day for me is I go in there and it's uncomfortable and it hurts and I'm huffing and puffing. The workout I did today is like a CrossFit style workout. I'll cough for 6 hours after that shit. And I know I've been coughing because of the welding. I hope I'm healthy. You know what I mean? I hope I'm okay. But I need that adversity. I need that adversity in my life. I need difficult things, because once you've suffered a little bit, I'm telling you, the rest of your world after that, it ain't quite as bad. It takes a little edge off of the shit. Like, fuck, man. Yeah, I got to take this phone call, but I would rather take this phone call than do that motherfucking CrossFit workout again. Anyway, so that's me injecting adversity in my life, and I'm telling you that that's what football is for these coaches. And I would guess that most of them wouldn't say that, and they wouldn't. I'm hoping as I say this, and if anybody's listening, they're nodding their heads, going, "Shit, yeah." I mean, I love that it's adversity. That we're going to look at a team, we're going to look at them on film, and figure out what they do well, what they do poorly, and try to attack them. Try to figure out how do we beat them. I mean, I'm a defensive coordinator, so my job is to stop these motherfuckers. They got these 3 things they love to do. They got this one kid who's really good, or whatever it is that they have. I'm going to try to take that away from them. And if you're an offensive coordinator, it's different. You're like, all right, what are they giving me on defense? Where are their holes? Where's the fish? Where's the guy that we can kind of pick on? And then take advantage. And all while that's going on, we are building it up in our heads. And I'm only a little bit ashamed to admit this, that we turn it into battle. We do. We talk about it with the kids like it's battle. We talk about it with each other like it's battle. The coaches. We'll go out after a game and drink beers and tell war stories about the game. That's okay. Okay? What you did, and Jordan Peterson will talk about this. He'll say that one of the best things you can do when you're dealing with something difficult in your life is take on responsibility. Find something that it's going to be a challenge for you. Take on some responsibility. He talks about that, and he's much more eloquent about it than I ever could be. But that's a thing that he does. And, I'm a big Jordan Peterson fan. I'm going to talk about him a ton, so get used to it. But that's a thing that we do. Going back to the 2 different groups of friends. I've got group texts with the coaches, and I've got group texts with my friends from high school, my closest friends. And I told you all the things I know about these guys that I grew up with. When I look at the coaches, like, there's 30 of us, and I bet you I could only tell you what 10 of them do for a living. Most of them, I don't know if they're married, let alone know what their wives are, if they have kids. I don't know lots of those things. But what I do know is that when shit gets fucking hard, they'll have my back, and I'll have theirs. And we know that with just a look. It is a bond that it's difficult to overstate. And my guess is, and I did some volunteer police work, or tried to, when I was in Indiana. And, I saw some of that. And I would almost guarantee it's got to be like that in the military. You guys are going through real war. There's a bond there. And you hear about it. They make movies about it. People, fucking Rambo, he walked up who knows how fucking far to find his friend, who he found out died of cancer from Agent Orange. And obviously that was a tremendous bond. And that's what we as coaches have, and I think a lot of us, too many of us, you just either ignore it or you understate it, or it isn't as prevalent as it should be. Now, I have had, the 3 years I've been coaching where I'm coaching, I've had a different offensive coordinator every year. I'm the head coach at my level, and I'll have an offense coordinator. I run the defense. Actually, the first year I was not a head coach, but and so there's this guy who his job is to take his 3 assistant coaches or 4 assistants and score points. And my job is to take my 3 or 4 different 3 or 4 assistant coaches and stop the other guys from scoring points. And it's a real simple job, but it's very complex in the amount of things it takes to accomplish that job. You got to, of course, have a scheme. You've got to have done your homework. You've got to get the kids where they can be successful. You've got to be able to watch each play and coach kids individually and make sure that they're making their adjustments. There's just a lot of shit that goes into it. But in between those sessions, say my offensive coordinator, he's out there and he's running his offense and he's very focused on that. And I come over, as soon as my defense comes off the field, I'm addressing them and getting them where they need to be. We break it down and then we become fans, provided the offense didn't already score. And then we switch. And sometimes there's a moment in there. We're switching at quarter, we're switching directions, or there's a punt or a punt return or a kickoff or a kick return where there's a moment where neither of us is running our main things. And you look across at that guy that you're working with, and you have this incredible faith in them. At least I always have, because I've worked with great guys that we got this battle and we're fighting it together. And then the game ends. And it's always the first thing I do is go find my OC and look him in the eye and shake his hand. And there's so much said there, like, hey, man, we busted ass all week on this shit in every level. I mean, you did your academic homework. You spent your time working with the kids. You developed them the best you could. You dealt with how many fires you had to put out during the week. You yourself as an individual, I mean, I'll tell you that game day is some stressful shit. It's some stressful shit. It really is. It's incredibly difficult for me. And it's like on an emotional level. My anxiety level is the fuck up here. You know, when you get there early, I always have the kids get to the game or get to wherever you're going to be early. I want them there a half hour, 45 minutes before the bus leaves or before we have to start warm-ups, because I want them in the locker room bonding, shooting the shit, being together. And, of course, then we're there too. And as coaches, you're not changing any strategy items at that point. Everybody knows once you get nervous, whatever you're thinking it's not clear, it's not good. So you have to rely on shit you already did. You got to trust past Travis that he did his shit correctly. So you're sitting there, and it's the most nerve-wracking shit ever. Because what's going through your head is, I'm going to lose this game. I'm going to fuck it up for all the kids and all these other coaches and all these people put all the time in. And you're afraid of that. And I'll tell you that I think that's a symptom of really caring about what you do. I mean, I don't get nervous as shit before I do one of these podcasts. I don't get nervous as shit before I go to the gym or do something that just impacts me. It's when other people are involved. And so there's that taking on the responsibility piece. You know, you have to have that. You know, I go back to the Brotherhood thing, and I look at fucking prison, all right? I didn't go to prison. I went to jail overnight. Totally different thing, okay? But what happens in prison? Well, is there the presence of real adversity in there? Fuck yes, there is. You got bad people. I mean, that's why you're there, okay? You got people who have done bad things at least. I don't want to slap around that label of bad people, but no, fuck that. If you beat your kid, you're a bad person. If you're a rapist, you're a fucking bad person. What do? They form gangs, right? I mean, that's how you form this bond. You got this. You create strength where there wasn't any, and it's in reaction to adversity. People don't form gangs when there's no other gangs or when there's no police. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like if everybody were getting along and things were going well, there wouldn't be gangs. You know, and you know what? Sidebar. That's what I think is happening in our country right now. The more polarized it's become, the more polarized it gets. People think that the other side are all these bad guys. I think, like, if you're on the right, you see BLM, Antifa, and you think that's the whole left. So you hate them all. And if you're on the left, you see the people who stormed the Capitol and racist skinheads and whatever else you want to chuck it, which is, you know, that's a fucking tiny, tiny part. And you think that's the whole right wing. And so you hate them all. And that's what's going on. We have a crisis of perception in our country. That's what's going on. And unfortunately, the media is fanning the fucking flames because they're making money off it like crazy. And I think politicians do the same shit. Listen to Tulsi Gabbard the other day talk about it. She's a former congresswoman or senator or something like that. And she's like, man, I'm so glad that shit's in my rear view. Because I've never seen such mean girls type behavior. You know, they don't give a shit about furthering the country. What they're trying to do, and this is politicians in general, is make sure the other side doesn't win. What a bunch of shit, you know? Well, how does that help us as an American people? I can see, all right, furthering your party, still not a great motivator, but better than fuck them. You know, that's really the only motivator there. Anyway, so now we have two gangs in our country, and it's fucking sad. It's fucking terrible. But I'm going to tell you that if there actually is adversity, and I think it's manufactured here in our country, gangs are perfectly reasonable. I mean, it makes sense that that's a thing that people would do, is strength in numbers. You got other people going through what you're going through, and you fight together. And I think that's what it is as coaches. You know, when there's some struggle, you bond together. Again, as I started this off by talking about how important it is to volunteer. And these are the things that I get fired up about when I talk about football, volunteering and masculinity and things like that. But we as coaches, there is some nitpicky, there are some guys getting caught in minutia, and I've been guilty of it myself. We all have. We need to not just talk about the brotherhood that we expect from the kids, because I'm telling you, our kids are doing it. I mean, they're fucking doing it. But sometimes we are not as coaches. We're not living that brotherhood. We're not truly role modeling what we expect of them. Some of it we are. You know, there are some groups of guys who are very close with each other. I've got a few very good friends on staff, but we've got to get everybody in that fold. And it just all it takes is some phone calls. You know, I called a guy last week. I was like, hey man, you only did this thing once last year, and if you want to do it, that's great, but it needs to be all year. I want to have a routine for my kids. If you want to be involved in it, I'd love that, but you have to commit. It's either all of it or nothing. And that wasn't the easiest conversation in the world, because I'm kind of questioning him. But what that shit leads to is respect. Hey, here's a guy that respects me and cares enough about me to come and talk to me to my face instead of going around behind motherfuckers. You know, like I said, I think that we do have an excellent staff, but there is room to grow in that area of us actually being that brotherhood, of actually having these bonds, and the raw materials are certainly there. I mean, we go to battle together. You know, I look at these guys that I work with, and I looked around that room, and I see a bunch of men that I respect. Okay, because I know that they can handle adversity. I want to tell you the quote that I used from Jack Donovan, and I think it hit the nail on the head. Super sharp guy. If you haven't read his books, get on Amazon and look up Jack Donovan. It's pretty extreme stuff as far as toughness and masculinity, but if that's the route you want to take, he can really motivate you. He said this: men respond to and admire the qualities that would make men useful and dependable in an emergency. And I would tell you that the number one thing that makes you dependable in an emergency is to be fucking dependable. And that means you don't panic, basically. Now, I've told you that before games I get nervous and I get uncomfortable and I get some anxiety. But once the game gets rolling, I'm okay. We all are. So the anticipation of the emergency is different than the actual emergency. If you get to the game and you fucking crumble, get out of here. It ain't going to work. He also says, men still judge one another according to the demands of that role as a guardian in a gang struggling for survival against encroaching doom. That's what we are. Now, there is an actual doom, but, you know, the team that you're playing, they're trying to take you down, all right? Just as hard as you're working to take them down, they're trying to take you down. So it is a battle. It is a competition. There's no doubt about that. And if you can't, you know, you've got to be able to pull your weight. You've got to be able to step up and bond together, connect together, gel together, and we are one. That's a way that we as coaches, I think, can be better for the kids. And bring it all the way back to the book. Fairly simple. When you're going through difficult shit, and I talked about this with picking up a project, at the very least, you're taking some of your 16 hours of thought time during the day, and you're focusing on it on something outside of yourself. Hopefully, you'll get some perspective with that, like I said, with the soup kitchen type deal. You know, I see kids who don't have parents that are playing for us, or don't have a dad, or you can tell that their home life sucks, and we're the best thing they have. Always gives me some perspective. Also, when you're thinking about things outside of yourself, it's good for you. Okay? That in itself reminds you there's more in the world than just your suffering. There are good things and bad things out there. There's lots of other things out there. It gives you some perspective. I can't strike that hammer hard enough. So that's where I come out with chapter 9, volunteering, and this brotherhood piece. It's something that I know all these guys are big on. I know that they're strong leaders, and they're very good men, and they are where they are because they should be. And I think the same way a lot of them do. I walk in that room like, what the fuck can I offer to these guys? You know what I mean? They're all so good. What do I know? And I think everybody thinks that stuff, and that's okay. But I know that, like I said, we do rely on each other. We do bond with each other. But I think we can take it to even another level, and it would be amazing, not just for us, but for the kids. And this is why you volunteer, folks. If you're having a shit go, you lost your job, or you just depressed as shit because of the goddamn corona scam, you're stuck in your house because your governor sucks like mine does, you've got to find a way. Volunteering is one of those ways. Just go out and shovel some neighbors' driveways. It's fucking wintertime. Do something nice for somebody. You know what I mean? Go help, do something outside of yourself. Volunteer. Give just to give. You will feel better. I promise you. All right, that's it. Chapter 9. My book is The Jossman Method. You can get it on Amazon. You can get it on Audible. You can get it at barnesandnoble.com. You can get a paperback or an ebook. The audio book I really recommend. Like I said, there's a lot more content there than there is just in the paperback or the ebook. You got this podcast to listen to. My Instagram is at The Jossman Method. And I just post a lot of motivational stuff, positive things to get you going. Sometimes pictures of things I'm working on. It's nothing super exciting, but good way to keep up. And as always, I ask you to do a couple of things. Subscribe to this podcast if you would. More important than that, comment. Let me know things you like, didn't like, ideas for things I could do in the future, because that'll help me. And, if I can help you, let me know. Hashtag Jossman Method when you do something great on social media, and then I can at least track you and see how you're doing. All right, Travis Neville Podcast. I will talk to you next Monday. Bye-bye.